Coming up tonight on YCN News, will Claremont voters choose to have an elected mayor and board of aldermen instead of an appointed city manager and elected unpaid city council? Author and environmentalist Phil McKibben receives this year's Hale Award. And Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin's campaign launches its first TV commercial. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening and welcome to this Wednesday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. It's not every day that a city or town considers changing how it governs itself. Yet on November 4th in Claremont, New Hampshire, residents registered to vote will determine just that. Should the city change its charter to have an elected mayor and elected board of aldermen instead of an appointed city manager and elected but unpaid city council? Residents are encouraged to attend 2 informational meetings to learn more about the charter proposals before the November 4th vote. 2 Friday night meetings are scheduled. Both begin at 6:30 p.m. in City Council chambers at City Hall. This Friday, September 19th, and next, September 26th. Charter Commission Chairman George Coccavaro explains what will happen.
What's going to happen Friday night and a week from Friday night are informational meetings. The commissions felt from day one that after we do everything we're required to do and before the vote in November, we want to make sure people can come and ask questions regarding what the language in the new charter means. These meetings are not intended to debate whether or not the charter should pass, but simply to give everyone the information they need so they have an understanding when they go to vote in November. And I think it's a little unusual, but as I said, these aren't really considered public meetings, but basically informational meetings at the request of the commission.
A quick PowerPoint presentation will show the major differences between the proposed and current charter. The charter was last revised in 2003. The charter will change, or not, pending a simple majority vote, Coccavaro says.
If the charter fails, we stay right where we are now. If the charter passes, we then have to work on building a transition plan to bring the new form of government up and running. Basically, it would be pretty much a full year before that would happen, because we would vote in November and the charter would take effect in January, but there wouldn't be another election till the following November. And I believe the way the law reads, anyone currently in a position, elected position, would be allowed to continue to the end of that term. So, you know, there'd be quite a bit of time before the transition's worked out.
If the change is approved, the new charter would take effect in January 2016.
The entire concept of changing the form of government is a very critical issue. But some of the other important points are the referendum issues, where this charter would allow people to vote down an ordinance they don't like, or vote a recommendation to the city council for ordinances they might want. But you have to remember that the Charter Commission passed this on a 6-3 vote. As a chairman, it's my responsibility to support, as the chairman, what the majority of the Charter Commission wants to do. As an individual, I have my own feelings. I think people have misread that. No, I think if people come to the meeting, ask the question, vote with a fully informed mindset, whatever comes out of it is what the city wants.
Meanwhile, Claremont is preparing to mark another milestone because it's also not every day that a community marks its 250th birthday. Come help Claremont celebrate this Saturday. Many activities are planned for Claremont's Birthday in the Bricks. It's a fitting name for the party's location in and around Opera House Square, home of historic brick buildings. The party starts at 11 a.m. and runs through 8 p.m. A list of all events can be found on our Facebook page at YCN News Now and blog wycu.wordpress.com. For the 21 and older crowd, a beer fest is planned at the City Visitor Center on North Street. And hey, how often do you see a 40-foot Ferris wheel in a city's downtown, too, offering free rides? More activities are planned this fall to mark Claremont's 1764 founding, including October 26th, its actual 250th birthday. Keep in mind, parking restrictions will be in place to keep the downtown car-free on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. These streets include Pleasant and School Streets plus Main, Sullivan, and Franklin Streets to Opera House Square. Parking will be available at municipal lots and the city parking garage. Carpooling is encouraged. Leave extra time to get where you are going on Saturday, advised the Claremont Police. Any questions about traffic patterns or about this event can be directed to Chief Alexander Scott or Captain Mark Chase at the Claremont Police Department, 603-542-9538. The Claremont Police Department thanks you in advance for your cooperation and patience. On another historical note, we now know the name of this year's Hale Award medalist. Author and environmentalist Bill McKibben will be honored at the annual event at 8 p.m. October 4th. The Saturday ceremony takes place at the Newport Opera House in New Hampshire. McKibben was selected to receive the prestigious award by the trustees of the Richards Free Library and a panel of judges. Bill McKibben is the founder of 350.org, a group dedicated to climate change awareness. He also is a professor at Middlebury College in Vermont. The Sarah Josepha Hale Award is given each year to recognize an outstanding body of written work. The award dates to 1956, when poet Robert Frost was its first honoree. When YCN News returns, Vermont GOP Chairman Republican David Sunderland seizes yesterday's word by Governor Shumlin of the problems with Vermont Health Connect, and Shumlin's campaign launches its first TV commercial.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. It's political season in Vermont, too, with GOP critics of Democratic Peter Shumlin coming forward. Vermont GOP Chairman David Sunderland is one Republican seizing on yesterday's word by Shumlin of the problems with Vermont Health Connect. Shumlin announced a new company will handle online signups for Vermonters' healthcare needs. Sunderland said Shumlin took too long to act on this, spending more money on a site with technical problems. Shumlin critics say more money was spent on the state setting up its own exchange than did other states that worked with the federal government. Optum is the new company that aims to restore confidence in residents signing up for medical insurance easily. Shumlin is firing back, however. His campaign launched its first TV commercial today. The ad, campaign staff note, features Vermonters speaking about Governor Shumlin's successful efforts to help the state recover from Tropical Storm Irene, and support of proposals approved in the legislature, such as raising the minimum wage and expanding high school links to local state colleges for early college credit. Shumlin also isn't hiding his head in the sand on the state's rising drug use. He took a tough stance, citing in his January 2014 State of the State speech the need to tackle heroin and opiate addiction in our state. When YCN News returns, we'll join Kearsarge Chronicles' Lynn Solomon, who met with Sarah Colson, the new director at the Lake Sunapee Region Chamber.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next few days and then move on to sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tonight we'll have partly cloudy skies with lows in the 40s and winds around 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow we'll have a high of 64 degrees with partly sunny skies and winds between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow night we're expecting frost after 4 a.m. with clear skies and lows in the mid-30s. Friday morning we'll have frost until around 7 a.m. We'll have a high of 58 degrees with sunny skies and winds around 5 miles per hour. Friday evening we'll have mostly clear skies with lows in the 40s. You can see here that we will have mostly clear skies for the next couple of days. Now let's see what's coming up on our community calendar. Tomorrow night, the Walpole, New Hampshire Select Board will be meeting at 6 p.m. Remember, you can submit local events from your community by sending them to news@ycnnow.com. And now it's time for a look at local high school sports results. Here's a look at soccer. In boys soccer, Kearsarge dominated Franklin in a 10-1 final score. Hanover defeated Salem 4-1 last night. The Marauders' record is now 5 wins and 1 loss, and they will go on to play Bedford High School next. In girls soccer, there was a matchup with Kearsarge and Fall Mountain. However, neither team was able to score any goals in the game. Hanover faced Merrimack Valley in a very close and intense game. Hanover managed a 1-point win over their opponent. Hanover's record now improves to 4 wins and no losses. Stevens and White Mountain School faced off with Stevens winning 2-0. Turning to girls field hockey, Kearsarge and Sanborn battled it out. Kearsarge came out on top 2-1. Finally, Hanover and Derryfield played against each other. The final score was 1-0 Hanover.
Thanks, Matt. When YCN News continues, we'll join Capital Connections' John O'Connor, who met with New England College professor Wayne Lesperance.
The YCN News continues in a moment.